We will be going live in just a few seconds. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Yaron Book Show. I'm coming to you live from London, England, where it is still snowing. It is muddy. It is ugly. It is cold. Well, I guess it is what it is. And but the funny thing is, of course, that it's basically shut the city down. It's very hard to get around. There's slush everywhere. There's mud everywhere, and a lot of meetings canceled. One of my schools again canceled today. So, of the eight eight talks in schools, no, of the 9 talks in schools that I was supposed to do this week, I did 7. So 2, I guess we'll have to reschedule and do another time. But so far 7. I'll tell you a little bit about those in a minute. We did do the London School of Economics yesterday, so I think that went well, and hopefully some of you caught the live stream of that. And we do have 3 more high schools to go next week, plus a conversation with Sargon of Akkad on Monday from King's College London. I'm curious to know how this video looks. To me, it looks frozen on Facebook. So, if on the chat, if you can tell me on Facebook if it looks good or not, I would appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, some people claiming that London looks picturesque with all the snow. Yeah, I mean, I think parts of it do. Particularly, I'm on the 6th floor of my hotel, looking down on the roofs of London. It looks pretty cool. But if you're actually down at street level, it's just ugly. It's just mush and ugly. So there you go. I spoke today at an all-girls school here in London. It's called JAGS. It's considered one of the best schools in England. And feisty girls, man, they went after me. I think they were prepared, right? I think they'd watched some videos in advance, and they just wanted to go after me, and it was great. Lots of questions, combative questions. They wouldn't settle for my answers. They kept coming back. The funny part was to watch a couple of the faculty members. There were a couple of teachers there who really were unhappy with me and my answers, and maybe even my presence there. Although overall, I've been asked back. So all the schools I've told you before, I've been asked back. It is dark. I apologize for the video. The video is dark. It's the best lighting I can arrange. If I turn on all the lights to full blown, you'll get blinded from behind. So the lights in the back will go all bright, and it'll be, I think, unmanageable. So hopefully it's tolerable, and you can see enough of me that it is fine. Yeah. So as I said, I was at JAGS today. Really, really smart girls, really a wide array of topics. They want to talk about a lot of different things. They're full of questions. Bam, bam, bam. It was kind of the best kind of audience, the kind of audience that I really love. An audience that really is engaged and wants to learn and wants to ask and wants to challenge and wants to challenge itself and wants to challenge you. So really, really terrific. And I'm looking forward to 3 more schools next week. And then the plan is to keep coming back. And as I come back to London, I think there'll be more schools. I'll be able to return to some of these schools, go to some new schools that I haven't been to before. So so far, it really is great, and really is a worthwhile trip. So hopefully you guys who the schools do not videotape these events, so there is not going to be videotape, partially because of privacy concerns about the high school kids, and partially because they have no incentive to promote these things. So the schools are not going to videotape. The only school that's videotaped my event is Radley, and you can see the Radley event. It's up on YouTube on my channel already. It's up on Radley's YouTube channel as well. But none of the other schools are videotaping, and they won't. And I don't expect that to happen in the future. It just it is what it is. And look, you guys know what I say, right? Because my talks are not that different. I vary them a little bit, and the Q&As obviously are different. But if you want to hear what I have to say about inequality, there are like 55 different videos on YouTube with me talking about inequality. If you really watch the videos I have on YouTube, you know what I'm going to say. You should be able to say it for me. You should be able to completely predict my answers. Let's see. Yeah, somebody's saying I look like I'm getting ready to tell scary stories. Yes, there's a spooky stuff going on here. Sorry, this is the lighting. It's the best that I can do at nighttime. I don't know. Maybe I'll switch tomorrow to doing my thing in the daytime. In the daytime, I have windows right in front of me, and if I open the blinds, there would be light on me. Right now, it's dark outside. It's what is the time now? It's 10:06 London time. I know some of you are listening from Europe, where it's 11 and 12 p.m. So thank you for listening. All right. Anything else I want to tell you about London? Not really. One more thing I'll say. Yesterday at the LSE, one of the really rewarding things that happened was that the guy who organized the event, he's a member of the Hayek Society at the LSE and organized the event, and he was the one who invited me, was actually a student I had met when I spoke at Westminster College in the past, and he was introduced to Ayn Rand by my talk at Westminster, and now he's in college, and he's invited me to come and speak in front of his society in college. Perfect. That's exactly why I'm doing these high school talks. It's brilliant. And then another kid who attended, who's also going to the LSE and studying economics at the LSE, was at Eton last year when I came to Eton and spoke in Eton, and he's been reading Ayn Rand this entire year. And Eton is the premier boarding school in England. It is where all, 40% of all prime ministers come from. It is this venerated institution. And he was there and interested in these ideas because of my appearance in Eton a year ago. And of course, he is just one. He said many of his friends picked up Ayn Rand, started reading, had discussion groups. They would challenge each other. They would argue. They would debate. They would discuss, all because of my presence there and me introducing them to these ideas. So, this is why we go to high schools, and I'm coming to believe that college is too late, that going to universities is too late, and we need to do more and more and more in high schools. And while we do a lot of programs in high schools at the Ayn Rand Institute, essay contests and books to teachers, I really think that having a physical presence there, engaging with the students personally, looking them in the eye, answering their questions, and coming across as as normal, as nice, as friendly, in spite of having radical ideas, is really, really crucial. And then, of course, all they have to do is get ignited. All they have to do is be introduced. All they have to do is have a seed planted. And then the whole world opens up to them, right? They can read Ayn Rand. They can go to YouTube and watch videos. They can go to Ayn Rand campus and take Lena Peikoff's courses all for free. The whole world of objectivism, the whole world of freedom and objectivist philosophy opens up to them and becomes immediately accessible to them because of the internet. So So all we really have to do is go and engage them. And, that's what I'm trying to do. Now, the challenge is that I'm one person, and there are a few others, obviously, that do this. Tara Smith, Ankagate, Greg Salamieri, a few others that are doing it, but none of them does it anywhere near the scale that I'm doing it. I'm doing, I don't know, 100, 110 talks a year, and more of them now are going to be high schools, and of course a lot of college talks. And while I try to scale by using the internet, it's still the necessity to physically go to these schools and interact with these students. I think there's real value there. Anyway, that's why I'm here in England, and that's why I really appreciate your support, because you make this possible, both by contributing to the Institute and by contributing to me. And it's the only way I can do this is if I fly business class, and if I stay in nice hotels, and if the school is very far away, if I hire drivers. Although today I used Uber that was almost banned in London. I used Uber to great success here in London in spite of the weather. So thank you for supporting me. It's you who make this possible. And if you want, again, to support my efforts, you can do so on Patreon. And also, I just launched today. You can make a contribution to my effort directly through PayPal. There's a link on my Facebook page, and I put it up on Twitter as well, where you can just go to a PayPal page and just make a contribution whenever you feel like it. And you're not committing to a monthly payment or anything like that. You're just making a lump sum. So if you want to support my UK activities, if you want to say, yeah, thumbs up to everything I've been doing here in the UK this week and next week, go to PayPal right now and make a contribution to show your support. I appreciate that. And of course, keep supporting the Iron Man Institute, because right now, given that the schools don't pay and my Patreon account is nowhere near to cover my actual expenses and time and everything, the Iron Man Institute is actually paying me to do this trip. So keep supporting the Iron Man Institute so these things can continue to happen. Okay, somebody's saying the Iron Man campus has been down an awful lot these last few weeks. I don't know. I'll find out what's going on, but that's not good. All right. Let's see. What I want to do today is a news briefing. I want to go over some stuff in the news, primarily because Donald Trump is making it just too easy, I don't know, too tempting for me to be commenting on the news. I mean, I don't know. I keep trying. I keep trying to hold back. I keep trying to respect the fact that many of you are Trump supporters and believe in some good in the man. And I don't know. He keeps proving himself to be the moron that I think he is, or the completely incompetent fool that I think he is, or the completely ideological pragmatist marketing playing his base that I think he is. Although I think he messed that up as well this week. So this week he managed to piss off his base on top of everything else. Somebody's asking if I'll comment on the Oscars. I will not, primarily because I haven't seen any of the movies this year. If I actually saw the movies, I would comment on them. And I have in the past, and I intend to see most of the movies that are for Oscar. I just, living in Puerto Rico, movie theaters, all of that, I just haven't got around to it. I know that I think most of the movies that are for the Oscar were released on iTunes a couple of days ago. So on one of the trips, on the trips that I'm going to take in the near future, I'm going to download the movies and watch them, and then I'll comment on them, and let you know what I think. Okay, so let's dive in with Trump's tweets today about trade. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I can't make this stuff up. Every time I try to say I'm not going to talk about Trump for a few days, he tweets something like this. Here it is, his words. I'm not putting words into his mouth. I'm not making this up. This is what he wrote. When a country, USA, is losing many billions of dollars on trade. Now, I'm going to stop there, because what does that mean? How do you lose billions of dollars on trade. You cannot lose billions of dollars on trade. Trade, by definition, you're doing because you are benefiting in some way. So there is no losing on trade. It's mind-boggling. Doesn't somebody around him know economics? Doesn't somebody explain this fact to him? This simple fact that a trade is entered as a win-win transactions. You're buying the goods from China because it's good for you to buy the goods in China because the goods are worth more to you than the money you're giving the Chinese. You're benefiting by buying the goods from China. So how is the U.S. losing many billions of dollars when it's sending pieces of paper called dollars to China and getting stuff? And yes, Donald Trump has never gone to Walmart and bought made in China goods, is my guess. But you know what? Millions of Americans go to Walmart, and particularly low-income Americans go to Walmart and buy cheap Chinese goods that have elevated their standard of living dramatically over the last 30 years. Without China, inflation would have been much higher in the United States, prices would have gone up much higher, and the standard of living of average Americans would have been dramatically lower. Trade is win-win. The Chinese get our dollars, they want dollars. We get stuff, we want stuff. And what do those dollars do? The dollars then come back and buy our bonds or invest in our real estate or invest in our companies, which again is contributing to us. So we win on both sides of the transactions. And so do the Chinese. They win because they sold us goods, and then they win because they get to invest in America and they value investing in America. So, what do you say? And it's one thing that Trump doesn't get this, but it's stunning to me. How many people on YouTube, how many people on Facebook, how many people among them, how many of my listeners don't get this? This is straight economics 101. This isn't even sophisticated Austrian economics. There's nothing, zero wrong with trade deficits. Never has been, never will be. Trade deficits are not problematic. And you don't lose dollars on trade. Going back to Trump. When a country loses billions of dollars on trade with virtually every country it does business with, then why is it doing business? Why would you do business with a country? As if you do business with a country. It's an American company doing business with a Chinese company. But if you're losing billions of dollars dealing with companies and individuals in another country, why do you keep doing it? You keep doing it because you're benefiting more than you're losing. It's mind-boggling. It's like me saying every time I buy an iPhone, I lose $600 because I run a massive trade deficits with Apple. Massive. I give them money and I get stuff, and I never see the money back. And my bank account goes down. I was just explaining this to girls at JAG to describe how inequality doesn't matter because Apple gets richer and I get poorer. But I get an iPhone. I get stuff. Wealth is not about the amount of dollar bills you have piled up, or all those dollar bills come back, but it's not about the dollar bills piled up. It's about the stuff you have. It's about the experiences you have. It's about what you buy with the money, what you invest in with the money. Again, not hard. I'm explaining this to high school kids, and they get it. We're talking about a supposed businessman, somebody who's actually transacted, somebody who wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, who is a trader, supposedly. And he doesn't understand the very essence, the very fundamentals of what a trade is. Sorry, it's just frustrating. And if it was just Trump, then maybe I wouldn't be so frustrated. But it's all the people who completely accept that if Trump says it, it must be true and it must be right. And that it is what it is. So, all right. So let's go on with this quote, right? So when a country, USA, is losing many billions of dollars on trade with virtually every country it does business with, trade wars are good and easy to win. All right. Now what do? Trade wars are good. And what does we mean by trade war? We raise our tariffs. They raise their tariffs. We raise our tariffs more. They raise their tariffs more. That's a trade war. Trade wars are good. For whom? For Donald Trump? Who are they good for? The last time we had a real trade war, I mean a real trade war, it drove the entire global economy into a massive depression called the Great Depression. It was called Smoot-Hawley. We raised tariffs, the rest of the world raised tariffs. Global trade collapsed, and the economies of most of the world, including the United States, collapsed. That's what we want. I mean, yeah, China will suffer too. Cool. All right. The main thing is that China suffers. I don't get it. So it makes no sense. Trade wars are horrible, horrible, disastrous events. He says, example, when we are down 100 billion, I don't know what that means. I guess running a deficit, a trade deficit of 100 billion. In other words, we've received goods worth 100 billion into the United States with a certain country, and they get cut. That is, we don't buy the 100 million worth of stuff anymore. Don't trade anymore, he says. We win big. It's easy. I mean, again, he really, so if I stop buying iPhones from Apple, I win big because I get to keep my $600. He is equating wealth with a monetary unit, with money. He's equating wealth with the dollar bills that I have in my pocket. I mean, it truly is, it goes beyond economic ignorance. Beyond economic ignorance. Who is advising him to tweet this nonsense? Or is it just him? I mean, it could be that his trade guys are advising this, and the Navarro, who is his trade economist, who is a pseudo-economist, an economist of the worst kind. He used to teach at UC Irvine. I met him a couple of times. He has no knowledge of economics. I guess this is for Navarro. I mean, it's zero-sum economics. It's mercantilist economics. It is the worst kind of economics. To call it economics is too good because it's not even economics. I really hate doing this because I really don't enjoy going after or talking about Trump, because I really, it's so, I mean, if and this is the thing that really upsets me, is that if Obama had said this, that everybody in the free market world, every objectivist out there, everybody who's ever read Ayn Rand, everybody who's ever listened to Milton Friedman, everybody who thinks of himself even a little bit as a free marketer would be making fun of Obama. There would be thousands of videos making fun of him. They would be calling him an economic ignoramus. They would be calling him a Marxist. They would be calling him 1,000 different things. But with Donald Trump, nobody says anything. Nobody says anything. We'll get to what people complain about Donald Trump on, but it's not this. Where is Tucker Carlson? Tucker Carlson knows this. Tucker Carlson doesn't believe this crap, not when he's really thinking about it. But why isn't he criticizing Donald Trump about this? Where are all the Republican economists? Where are all the free market economists? The Wall Street Journal once in a while will criticize him on this. Where are you? All right, then he continues. Second tweet. We must protect our country and our workers. Our steel industry is in bad shape. If you don't have steel, you don't have a country. Now notice, first of all, if you don't have steel, you don't have a country. It's complete garbage and stupid. And it's not true, by the way, that we don't have steel. We have plenty of steel. We just don't have 100% of the market, and it's becoming more and more competitive. And American steel companies are finding it more and more difficult to compete with the rest of the world on steel. But we still produce a lot of steel in this country, particularly specialized steel. And we have the ability in this country to much more effectively recycle steel, and we have these micro steel plants. If you read, there's a very good book about Nucor in the 1980s and how they revolutionized steel production in America. But yeah, we import at least 1/3 of the steel in the United States is imported. So what? Now, the context for all of this is that he is about to impose 25% steel tariffs on steel and 10% tariffs on aluminum. And he is talking about all the lost jobs in steel. But what about all the lost jobs in all the manufacturing industries that use steel, that use aluminum? What about beer companies? You laugh, but there was a story in the Wall Street Journal today about beer companies are really, really worried about their aluminum cans. They're going to cost significant more money, which means they're going to lose market share. As it is, they're losing a lot of market share to spirits and wines. And now with the cost rising, they fear they're going to lose even more. So, you know, what about he just raised tariffs on washing machines to protect, I think, Whirlpool, the U.S. manufacturer of washing machines. Now, Whirlpool is going to it's going to be much more expensive for Whirlpool to make washing machines in America. So we're going to raise tariffs on washing machines coming in from Korea and other places even more to keep protecting Whirlpool from our own tariffs that we have just increased. You know, where does this end? How does it end? Boeing is suffering. Auto companies in America are going to suffer. Everybody who uses steel, every company that uses steel, every entity that uses steel is going to suffer. And of course, that all trickles down to consumers who are going to have to pay higher prices for the goods that they use. How is that good for the U.S. economy? How is any of that good for the U.S. economy? But, you know, he wants a trade war. Trade war is a good thing, and we're going to win the trade war. Why are we going to win the trade war? Because we're not going to spend any more money. We're not going to buy stuff. Now, if you really care about deficits, the only deficit you should actually care about is spending deficit, government spending deficit, which results in massive borrowing, massive amounts of debt, which is then bought by the Chinese. If you really want to help the U.S. economy, then reduce the government's deficit, reduce the amount of borrowing that the government engages in. But this administration has no intention of doing that because this administration wants to spend more and more and more and more and more money. They want a bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger deficit. They have no intention of cutting government spending, no intention of cutting government largesse all across the board. Republicans have no intention of doing that. They control the House, the Senate, to remind you, and the White House, and they're not cutting a dime of spending. What they are doing is raising tariffs, raising the cost of doing business in the United States, and raising the prices for consumers. Now here he goes on. This third tweet, 2 tweets of complete and utter economic ignorance is not enough. Here's the third. When a country taxes our products coming in at, say, 50%, right? Whoops, what happened to that? Oh, it went to Twitter. Okay, when a country taxes our products coming in at, say, 50%, and we tax the same product coming into our country at 0, not fair or smart. Oh, yeah. So if another country taxes its citizens 50% on the products that they buy, and we don't tax our citizens, then we're stupid. And it's not fair. So we will soon, he writes, we will soon be starting reciprocal taxes. Just think about that. There's a new concept. Reciprocal taxes. It's perfect. I'm glad he doesn't use the word tariff because it is taxes, right? And he's not taxing the foreign company. He's taxing U.S. consumers. So because other countries are taxing their consumers, we have to tax our consumers. So other countries are penalizing, are stealing, because taxation is theft. They are stealing money from their citizens in the name of fairness and in the name of being smart. We need to start stealing more from our own citizens. What do you do with that? I don't know. It's just, all right. So a reciprocal tax is that we will charge the same thing as they charge us. 800 billion trade deficits, have no choice. Or 800 trade deficits / have no choice. Yes, you do. You can leave it alone and you could cut taxes. How about cutting taxes? I'm a strong believer in cutting taxes. Take tariffs to 0. And this is what's fair and what's right. Because, whether other countries steal from their citizens or not, the U.S. government should not be stealing from its citizens. That's a good policy, right? So the U.S. government should have zero tariff policy, while the rest of the world has has whatever taxes they impose on their own people. He calls it taxes. I read this to you again. When a country taxes our products coming in at, say, 50%, because tariffs are a tax, and we tax the same product coming into our country at zero, which I would consider the right policy. Fair. That's not fair or smart, he says. We're starting reciprocal taxes. This is the president many of you guys elected, and you can tell me all you want till you're blue in the face that he's better than Hillary Clinton. That still doesn't budge the fact, doesn't move the fact that he, when it comes to these economic issues and many other issues, he is a bubbling fool. A bubbling fool. I mean, unfortunately, he's a fool in the most powerful position on the planet. And that is scary. That is truly, truly scary. I guess his ideal would be if we didn't trade with the world at all, if we just didn't buy anybody's goods. Because every time you buy something, and actually we should all be self-sufficient. I mean, you should all start planting vegetables in your backyard and buying chickens so you can raise chickens, because every time you go out to the grocery store and you buy stuff, you're losing. You're losing because you're giving the money and you're getting stuff. And the money's more valuable than the stuff. I don't know why you do it. Should all be subsistence farmers. All right, what do you do with it? I don't know what to do with that beyond just say how absurdly ridiculous and silly the whole exercise is. And this is our president. All right, let's see. Yeah, I did want to mention this. I find it interesting that there are only two issues. There are only two issues that Republicans, even at Fox, or particularly at Fox, are willing to criticize Trump on. Two issues, both of which I disagree with Republicans on, but or at least partially. One of them partially, the other one very much so. Only two issues. One, guns. Yeah, they're really, I mean, Tucker Carlson went after him yesterday about some comment that Trump made about taking people's guns away without due process. And Tucker Carlson says, imagine if Barack Obama had said that. Just ignore due process and start confiscating guns. He said we would be denouncing him as a dictator and we would be impeaching him. So on this, Tucker Carlson gets his panties ruffled. And on this, he's talking about impeachment. He's talking about comparing him to Obama. He's talking about all this. That's the only other issue that Tucker Carlson has done this is when Trump suggested a path to legalization for the Dreamers. Immigration and drugs, immigration and guns are the only issues that they will criticize Trump on. Not on trade, not on cronyism, not on attacking the First Amendment, which I think is more important than the Second Amendment, not on attacking media, not on attacking Washington Post when he threatens Amazon, not on his ambiguity about the First Amendment, not about any of these things. No, that's all fine. The only amendment in the whole Constitution, the only thing in the Bill of Rights that conservatives seem to care about these days is the Second Amendment. And in terms of policy, the only policy that Republicans are willing to stand up to Democrats, the only policy that the Republicans will not negotiate, will not compromise, will not do anything, the only policy that Republicans will criticize Trump on is immigration. Those two are the most important issues of the day. Those two are the defining issues of America today. That's what's killing America. Two, we don't have enough, we have too rigorous regulations on guns, and we allow too many immigrants into America. That is what's killing America. Again, This is the Republican Party for you. What a waste. What a waste. Talking about guns, again, governments and business, the interaction, the dangerous, the danger of that interaction, government having views about these things, opinions about giving businesses favor, retracting those favors. As you know, many businesses have retracted their support from the NRA in the last week or so. Delta, for example, has stopped giving NRA members discounts on flights. Delta is a business. Delta has the right to decide whatever its policies are. Of course, if they're not conservative policies, we don't believe in. Anyway, Delta has every right to do this, and it doesn't give discounts to, as somebody pointed out, to Planned Parenthood. It doesn't give discounts to many people. Decide not to give discounts to the NRA. You like that? You don't like that? Don't use Delta. But what's interesting is that the Georgia government, the government of the state of Georgia, which had decided to give Delta these massive tax benefits for the fact that it has its major hub in Atlanta, Georgia, and that it's trying to keep that hub. Atlanta, Georgia, I don't know if you know this, but is actually the busiest airport in the world, and drives a lot of economy, a lot of economic activity for the state of Georgia. They've decided to give them a lot of tax breaks. Now, I don't believe in those kind of tax breaks. I don't believe in singling out industries and singling out companies to give them tax breaks. But they were going to give them the tax breaks, and they gave tax breaks to other companies. But at the last minute, they eliminated the tax breaks for Delta because of this NRA. So now the government is penalizing companies because the companies are not taking the political positions that the government thinks that they should. This is what happens when you don't have a separation of government from economics, or separation from government from the realm of ideas. And very, very, very dangerous trend. Very dangerous trend. And you're going to see much more of this. You're going to see conservatives going after Twitter and Google and Facebook because they are being harsh to conservative speakers, or harsh to conservative video producers, or harsh to conservative tweeters, and the government is going to go after them in the name of politics. In the name of politics. And now you get a merger of politics and economics, and we're really heading towards the end of American greatness and what makes America significant. In connection with that, just a quick antitrust story that's going on right now. Again, this is the Trump administration, the so-called, so many people thought this would be good for free markets. Well, there's a takeover battle going on right now for Qualcomm. Qualcomm is the maker of the chips that go into cell phones. It is developing right now chips for 5G, which is the next evolution of cellular internet communication. Qualcomm is a fantastic company in Southern California, and incredibly innovative, done a lot of amazing things. It's in a battle right now with Apple and has been for a while. But Qualcomm is one of the great innovation stories in American business over the last few decades. Broadcom, which is another company originally based in Southern California, was originally a spinoff from Hewlett-Packard, and then was based in Southern California, is a chip maker, a dominant chip maker, and does specialty chips. Broadcom was bought a few years ago by a Singapore-based investor who then moved the company to Singapore, so that it was an American-based company. It still has operations in the U.S., but now is based in Singapore. The investor earlier this year promised Donald Trump to move the company back to California. It's actually Orange County. Its base was in Irvine, Orange County. And he's in the process, supposedly, of bringing the company back to the United States to be based in Orange County. Anyway, there are members of the Trump cabinet and members of the Trump administration that would like... Broadcom is trying to take over Qualcomm. Broadcom, Qualcomm. And right now, they're basically trying to replace the directors at Qualcomm. So it's a complicated corporate kind of battle going on. Anyway, the government wants to step in now and stop the merger in the name of, quote, national security. What is the national security? Here it is. I mean, this is so. So it says here, Qualcomm is a leader in semiconductor technology and the development of standards for 5G, the next generation of wireless technology that could enable self-driving cars and other innovations. Some members, this is a member of the Trump administration, are concerned that if Broadcom buys Qualcomm, it could sell parts of the company and hobble American prospects at eclipsing China in the race to develop the technology, the people familiar with the matter said. So again, what the government wants is to restrict the profit-maximizing activities of a company because it believes that it knows what is best for the long-term prospects of the U.S. economy. I called Donald Trump months and months and months ago, what was it? Central Planner in Chief. And I think that he is proving to be exactly that, Central Planner in Chief. And this kind of thing to decide whether Broadcom buys Qualcomm, whether it should or shouldn't, whether the fact that it's based in Singapore makes it too close to China, whether, you know, and again, unless they're real national security issues and they have to be very concrete, the government has no business in these kind of things. And then if Broadcom buys Qualcomm, they're worried about what it'll spin off, what kind of R&D it'll stop doing, because Broadcom will try to maximize shareholder wealth, they'll try to maximize profits, but the assumption is that they'll do it short term, they won't do it long term. But the government, the central planners, are much better at long-term planning, so they should be involved in guaranteeing that Qualcomm does what the central planners in chief in Washington, D.C. wanted to do. And I could go on and on and on about the stupidity of this. But this is the, it's the kind of nonsense that has not changed with the Trump administration. This is the kind of nonsense that you certainly would have expected from a Hillary administration, but you're getting it anyway. And certainly this is the kind of stuff that was happening under Obama. And there's a committee that was established to stop deals that are a threat to national security. Now, you know, when a government committee like that is instituted, that it's going to be used for other purposes other than national security. National security has always been an excuse for the government to increase its power. Always, and still is, particularly in the economic realm. So, butt out. Let Qualcomm and Broadcom and the other players in the space sort it out from purely commercial reasons without your wise intervention. I mean, this is an administration that doesn't know that trade is win-win. This administration that thinks that trade wars are a good thing. This is not an administration with any kind of qualifications to decide any merger at all, period. We still haven't, by the way, concluded the AT&T Time Warner merger, which for purely political reasons, in my view, is stuck on hold because of this administration. So, all right. One last story, and then we're going to call it a night. These shows tend to be shorter. Putin is saber rattling, and this is exactly this is so. So the other area in which the Trump administration was going to be so much better than everybody else, than Obama and than Hillary, was foreign policy. I mean, this was going to be an America First president. This was going to be a new, energized America First foreign policy that placed the interests of Americans as primary, and that would tell the autocrats and the dictators of the world, the aggressors of the world, to butt out and stay out. And the fact is that in the first year of the Trump administration he has proved in terms of foreign policy weak, undecisive. He has proved not to be pursuing America's self-interest. He has proved to succumb to threats, to have no real policy, to be all over the place, to be a pragmatist, to be nothing, to be a nobody and a nothing. We have no foreign policy. In that sense, no different than his predecessors. And Putin is taking advantage of that. He's taking advantage of that in Syria. He's taking advantage of that in other regions of the world, in increasing Russia's power in the world. And he is now taking advantage of it in a sense by letting the world know that he has a renewed nuclear arsenal. Now, I think all these boasts are kind of empty ultimately. And I think that, I don't believe in Russian weaponry as being particularly effective. And if I were Russian, I would be worried about one of these nuclear missiles taking off, because it might land back in Russia. Who knows? But he is now touting a new nuclear arsenal. Now, again, I think it's empty, but I'm not his audience. The audience is the world. The audience is the populists in the world. The audience is voters. The audience is all those Western countries that are tilting towards authoritarianism, that are tilting towards being friendly with Russia and giving up on the West, if you will, and backing a Putin-like candidates who are then friendly to Russia. He is the big guy on the block. He is the guy to be reckoned with. He is the guy that is positioning himself to be the leader in the world in which we live. And this nuclear arsenal, this new missiles, all this stuff, which I think again is pretty empty, is meant to rally the masses all over Europe and in Russia to the greatness of Vladimir Putin, and to support candidates that he supports, and to move the world more and more towards the authoritarianism and the tribalism that we're moving towards anyway, but now more guided and more managed by Putin, who is one of the great villains of turning out to be one of the great villains of the beginning of the 21st century. So there we are. That is where we are. That is the news. I'm sorry, I've lost connection with the comments on Facebook, so I haven't been able to keep track at all with comments on Facebook. My Facebook feed basically is frozen. All right, there it goes. It's coming alive suddenly. It's suddenly woken up. I still get it on YouTube. I'm getting the comment thread on YouTube, so I can follow there. I don't see any urgent questions. I don't see anything that I need to answer. All right, I will be back tomorrow, and I'll be back on Sunday. I think tomorrow there's still some questions from my Patreon subscribers that asked that have not answered. There were like 5 questions. I only managed to answer 1 because we had technical difficulties earlier in the week. So I will be answering some of those questions. Some of them have to do with the Israeli-Palestinian issue and some other issues. I don't remember exactly what they are right now, but I will get to those probably tomorrow. And then Sunday, we'll figure out if you have ideas on what you'd like me to talk about, send me an email, post them on Facebook, post them on YouTube, post them somewhere, and let me know what you'd like me to talk about this weekend. I won't have much more updates from the UK because I won't be doing much between now and tomorrow and Sunday. I plan to relax. I'm trying to figure out if there's a good classical music concert here in London. This is a great opportunity. Now that I live in Puerto Rico, there's a shortage of culture, so I'm looking for something exciting to do in London. If anybody has any ideas of a great musical event or really good play, I mean, but really good play in London that I could go to, I'd love to do that tomorrow, Sunday. So in kind of my free time. All right. Thank you all for tuning in and for giving me your time. Don't forget to share this. Oh, by the way, a number of my talks have gone up on YouTube and on Facebook. So the live stream from yesterday is up on YouTube. The Radley talk is up on YouTube. The Exeter talk that I did last November is now up on YouTube. That's 3 talks that have gone up in the last 4 days, 5 days. That's pretty good. 3 new talks. Now, granted, I repeat myself, but 3 new talks that haven't been on YouTube before have just gone up. Please, other than support me on Patreon, the next best thing you can do is share share, share, like. So go on these platforms, share the content, like the content, do the social media stuff that is done with this so that it rises in the algorithms, it gets more exposure. By sharing it, more people get exposed to it. If we're going to make this a massive movement, I need all of your help. And the best way that you can help is by sharing the content, by getting, and I know you all say, oh, my friends are not interested. Oh, my friends have already heard you. Or my friends, you never know. And if your friends, some of them share it again, then it gets the second generation or second iteration, third iteration. And that's how these videos get out there and get thousands and thousands of hits. It's because people share them. And if you don't share them, you can't expect anybody else to share them. So those of you who committed and watch my show live and are fans and are supporters, go there and press the share button on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, on whatever it is. Get these videos out there, and particularly of the lectures. I think this kind of stuff, like what I did today, this is primarily for insiders. This is primarily for those people who already know what I'm about and where I'm coming from. I didn't explain in great detail a lot of what I said. This is kind of a quick update for you. But the lectures, because I'm giving them to audiences that have never heard of Ayn Rand or never heard of these ideas, have never heard about oppositions, those are particularly valuable to share. Those are particularly valuable to get out there and to go viral in a sense. And one of the things that I would really, really appreciate your help. And again, if you want to support me, you can go to patreon.com, Yaron Brook Show, or you can go to paypal.me/Yaron Brook Show, and you can financially support me in both those places. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow and